Good afternoon and welcome to YNaija2015's Election War Room. We're live at CC Hub in Lagos. Grateful to be partnering with CC Hub and Oracle on this. CC Hub is a social innovation center dedicated to accelerating the application of technology to tackle social issues and ensure economic prosperity. So we're thankful for their space. We're also thankful to Oracle, our Oracle is helping out today with a software called the Endeca Information Discovery Software. Now, this is a demo, so all of this is largely experimental, but it functions using sentiment analysis to grab thoughts across social media platforms, positive and negative, the kind of like telling how people feel about elections. So far, there are about 15,000 tweets, over 15,000 tweets, which this software has pulled in. We have about 4,000 of them which are positive, and about 3,000 negative, and then the others are just, incidental. This is what is happening here, that is what is happening there. Now, to debate the election with me, to talk about the elections, happening in Osun today with me, I have four gentlemen who will analyze, all the issues, possible incidents of violence, the militarization of elections, which we've started, becoming familiar with in this country, and a few other issues, perhaps maybe even their personal political ambitions. To do that with me today, to my far left, I have Mr. Kazim Sanusi. He's a development planner with the Nigeria Infrastructure Advisory Facility, NIAF. He's a member of the People's Democratic Party, and he's aspiring to the Senate. He is from Ekiti State. Now, we all know that barely about 2 months ago, Ekiti had the gubernatorial elections, and governor-elect is none other than Ayo Fayose, still also of the People's Democratic Party. To my left, I have Tolu Bunlesi. Tolu is West Africa editor for the Africa Report. He's a blogger, very active on Twitter. How many followers do you have? There's about 1 million now.
2 million.
Tolu actively covers politics, business, art, and culture in Nigeria. Tolu, you're welcome.
Thank you.
To my left, no, this is my right now. To my right, I have Ayo Adekunle. Ayo is a lawyer, so we're covered. Whatever trouble we stir up today, Ayo has our backs. Ayo is a legal practitioner. He's a chartered arbitrator, and he's op-ed editor of YNaija. Ayo, you're welcome. And to my right, I have Demola Rewaju. Demola is an opinion blogger with a background in political history and political activism. His political ideology tends towards the People's Democratic Party. And Demola tells me something interesting. I mean, before we started this, he was talking to me about political ambition, what his plans are, So, I mean, I won't spill, but, there just might be a presidential announcement and all those kinds of things by the time we get through today. So we're basically, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking through the elections. We're going to take a break every now and then. We will cut sometimes to, the Endeca screen, just so you see, the pooling as it happens. But please stay with us. You're welcome to tweet us. Tweet at YNaija2015. You're welcome to follow the hashtag on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever. It's YNaija War Room. If you have any questions, tweet us, send us a message. Find us on Facebook. We're at YNaija2015. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram at YNaija2015. Please join us. If you have any, you can leave comments. You can join the Hangout. Whatever it is you want to do, this is your show. This is all set up for you. Now we're going to talk about the elections in Osun, which are happening now. I have reports saying that the governor has already cast his vote, so things appear to be moving quite quickly, and sooner than later we'll start getting trickles of results coming in. But gentlemen, what do you think about the elections going on in Osun today?
Yeah, thank you very much, Joma. One of the worrying themes that one would notice about the election is the way propaganda, unfounded stories are being thrown here and there. It's not what is happening on ground. I have been in Osun. I did a couple of days in Osogbo. I was there even when the security teams moved in. I saw that they came in peacefully. And yes, there's a difference between seeing 10 security men and seeing 1,000, perception-wise. But I think they're there to ensure that there's peace, that no one can really tamper with the voting process. It happened in Ekiti. it actually encouraged people to step out to vote. So I think it's going to come to play in Osho, encourage people to actually step out, knowing that they will go back to their houses safe. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Basically, my thoughts are mirrored along this line. So many propaganda. Yesterday night, people saying on both sides, the PDP and APC basically. The PDP guy saying, "Oh, this guy had arrested, rigging an election has not even started." Then the APC guy been saying, "Oh, people have been masked men and been shooting everywhere. Nobody got shot." So basically,
You can confirm that no one got shot.
I think that was a report. You can't tie the gunshots. This thing.
Yeah.
Someone is going to come out and say I've been shot. So far, it's just the propaganda that has been the problem. But I think with the security in place, the election has been to come.
Totally?
Well, my own thoughts are that so a lot of people are watching these elections, coming after Ekiti to see if the pattern that we are assuming was set in motion in Ekiti is going to be validated, or is this? So on the part of the APC, they are going to be wanting to prove that it's a fluke, that the PDP victory in Ekiti was a fluke. PDP, of course, will be, I guess, keen to show that this is the new pattern of elections in the Southwest. So it's going to be these elections. I think will go a long way towards determining the next 7-8 months and the rest of the elections. Well, so far it's the point about propaganda, that's also quite important. I think it's quite clear now that both parties are equally guilty.
Yes.
There's no good and bad side in this. Both are equally guilty of. I think the parties have come to say that propaganda is a key tool of election for elections now, especially now that with social media, which has helped to amplify people's voices, which now means that in the past, when you had to channel your propaganda in the past through TV stations and radio, and of course newspapers wouldn't come out until the next day. Now you have tens of thousands of people with mobile phones, who can tweet and Facebook and all that. That's disturbing, but it also means that people have to take a lot of things with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
And people also have to be careful that you do not allow your mind to be made up by what you are seeing on social media.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about propaganda. Demola, before we do that, what are your thoughts on the election? What do you think?
Well, I think that Oshun just mentions, I want to share from the perspective of the importance of it. Oshun is very, very critical to the APC. Having lost Ekiti, for me that would be their that's their strongest state outside Lagos State. Oshun would be where they are most strongest, apart from Oyo State. They are not. I don't think they are strong in Oyo State or in Ogun State. So if YNaija loses today in Osun State, I think it will be very, very. It will be a signal that the APC stronghold is under siege.
This is of course the only state that the ACN won the presidential election in 36 states.
Based on what you said, the APC is APC major stronghold, not even Lagos. As to this election, I don't even expect it to be close. If it happens to be close,
there's still a problem.
It says a lot about
it.
I don't expect it to be. It's supposed to be 70-30 for me. Once it's 5-45,
okay. So we have our first prediction, 70-30. So is it 70-30 in favor of the APC or 70-30?
I'm saying ideally it should be 70-30.
Right.
If it falls below that, then the opponents for APC.
So how about we throw this out to everyone who's watching and to people on Twitter? What is your prediction? Can we get that up on Twitter? What do you predict? Who do you think is going to win? APC, PDP, and what are the margins? 70-30, like Ayo just said, or are we looking at closer margins? But now let's talk about propaganda, because Ekiti, a lot of people went into Ekiti elections with this certain mindset. Yeah. It's been a while. I don't think any incumbent governor has been unseated, during an election, with these kinds of elections. Again, personally, I believe that Governor Fayemi ran a brilliant social media campaign. his people on Twitter ran a brilliant social media campaign. I've said that since forever. Now, whether that translated to a brilliant grassroots campaign, I cannot tell because I was not in the state. To be honest, I don't think I've ever been in the state. But we've learned. I think everyone learned a few lessons from the Ekiti election, including this propaganda business. So, what other lessons do you think political parties could have learned from Ekiti?
I think, in my opinion, when we talk about the Ekiti election and we reduce it to stomach infrastructure.
I was waiting for someone to say that word. I didn't want it to be me.
I always like to say that these days.
You said it. Yeah.
We're missing a huge lesson in that election. The one is the fact that I would address first the stomach infrastructure, and it is counterintuitive for any of us to expect that man who cannot feed himself, feed his wife, feed his children, to understand the value of a 10 billion naira road. So the first responsibility of government is local economic development. Because there is no matter how fast your team can work, to put in place physical infrastructure, you have a time from concept to design to finalize to breaking ground, right? And that no matter how fast your team is, you will not achieve that for a road or for a building in 6 months. You will not break ground. In 3 months, your first 2-3 months in office, you can roll out local economic development initiatives that gives your people economic freedom, for them to be able to take intellectual ownership of whatever infrastructure projects you're doing going forward. You can put that in place and they can begin to see it, benefit from it. They can begin to participate in those initiatives within 2-3 months, because there are already known strengths of each local area which you need to capitalize.
So your lesson from Ekiti elections is satisfy people's pressing needs first.
Absolutely.
Satisfy their bellies first, if we want to be like that.
Satisfy their taking ownership of your initiatives first. Their ability to take ownership of that.
What are the lessons?
Well, yeah, I'm yet to be done. So now that sorts out the hopefully the stomach infrastructure angle, which it would have happen anywhere. Then the other one is the social media campaign that the outgoing governor ran. Brilliant, like you said, but there was a disconnect based on what we now call the stomach infrastructure. Yeah. There was a disconnect from the people. The people would not take ownership. I saw old women who stepped out during the elections and would actually carry their ballot papers, not trusting their children who has showed them where PDP or APC is, and carry it around and ask strangers, total strangers, are you sure this is PDP? And we will jokingly say, but you get paid stipends by this government, and she would say, I get the stipends to feed children who should feed me. So it's something that is really, it's not the social media campaign does not translate to people's acceptance on the ground.
I did mention, that there was a social media campaign, but whether that translated to grassroots,
Well, no, but having said that, it's important to point out that, a lot of the talk about Ekiti made it seem like, there was a focus on social media for the APC, but none on the ground. But I don't think that's there was quite. And as the incumbent, there were the resources and the motivation to campaign widely. And I know that Governor Fayemi campaigned widely within the state. So it's a bit simplistic to, I think, assume that there was a focus on. Of course, the APC happened to have the more visible social media campaign.
Yes.
But people are now, I think, making the mistake of thinking that that was all that
They did.
No.
they did. You know,
No, it
no,
wasn't.
you know, there was quite a big focus as well on campaigning and all
Yeah.
that. So to be honest, there will be no easy answers to why it turned out the way it did and all that. Yeah.
For me, the most apt answer would be that Miami came up against a political institution in the Southwest that is likely to outlast that of Adidibo or any other state person that we might have. Because Ayodeji came into Ekiti politics in 2000, and for 3 years he was campaigning. And what he was doing at that time was following what T.E. Lawrence described as when he said that our kingdoms are in the minds of
few people, yeah.
You know, so he built that kingdom in their minds,
Yeah.
and they have simply never forgotten him.
No.
Good or bad, you know. I mean, there were things we heard, there were things they said about him, you know, killings and all that under his first tenure, but the people were willing to overlook all that.
Yeah.
You know, and in picking him, I think PDP made the politically speaking now, they made the right choice.
The strategic choice.
The strategic choice, yeah. So, but you know, so Governor Kayode was he was up against an opponent who is seemingly invincible. As far as Ekiti politics is concerned, any candidate or such a candidate is I mean, from reports I heard, the Fayose campaign did not have to spend as much in terms of mobilizing their own supporters on election day, you know, polling agents and so on, as the incumbent governors, you know, his team. So you know, it's I think it for me, it just shows that, and then on the part of Dr. Family, I think we need to learn that lesson, like maybe our generation and those coming up, that no matter how good your administration might be, we should balance it with a little.
No matter how good you perceive it to be.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
There should be a balance.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, Nigerians, following on what you said, Nigerians are also, it has turned out to very forgiving people.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's a pattern. You know, and to be, you know, in line with that also. So I was in Ekiti 2 weeks to the elections, and you know, I put to one of the PDP supporters that, look, your candidate has been accused of, you know, there's an EFCC case on him, accused of murder, and look, the guy just basically said, look, in terms of the stealing of corruption, like, everybody more or less is that. Even the incumbent governor, you can't tell me the incumbent governor is not taking money. So once voters assume that all politicians are thieves, you can no longer use that as a basis to tell them vote for this one because it's honest. Because so it just dawned on me. One big lesson from Ekiti for me was that in a system where all politicians are perceived as thieves, that can be a selling point.
Yeah.
So you can't come saying I'm the honest, you know, no, because people will see it as, oh, this one is even lying. At least we know, the honest people who will share some of what he has. So you know, those are the things that I think I picked up.
Something again is people are making a mistake. Stomach infrastructure, or the so-called smart infrastructure. All the candidates involved were involved.
Of course.
So
that's
everyone.
All the candidates. I saw bags of rice from Fayemi's wife.
Yes.
I saw many things, and
Cooked rice.
I think people
rice, yes.
follow this narrative to suit their own narrative, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I was in UI, when I was finishing 2011, Akala came to my other residence. He bought us plasma TV over 50 inches for each other resident. The whole thing, he lost the election in my own. He was sharing money because.
Yeah.
So I remember Abiola right? So the same thing is happening in Osun State now.
Yes.
And I heard the previous candidate is really spending money.
Yeah.
I know everybody is sharing fufu or whatever it is. But even if Omishori gives everybody $1 million each, I don't expect him to win.
So I think people have learned. People have learned that, look, what you do is collect from all the sides. And make your decision.
I think we should make a point that it did not start with it.
No.
This has been a pattern. That's always been a pattern.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move away from Ekiti quickly. And since we're talking about why people vote for people. We commissioned, a report. YNaija2015 commissioned a report, and we said that there are 4 reasons why people will vote for whoever it is they vote for today. And those 4 reasons are, one of them, who's on the lips of the people. And you mentioned, speaking about Ekiti now, you mentioned Ayo Fayose being in the hearts of the people, for a long time. And so it's just difficult to shake that. And then again, we talked about stomach infrastructure, and we must have, noticed that on social media now, everyone seems to have a cob of corn. Everyone is taking pictures. I mean, I have a picture with corn myself. You don't know when that would be useful. But we're all taking pictures. We're all taking pictures with corn these days. So that's another thing. There's stomach infrastructure. There's also the son of the soil thing. Who is regarded as a true son of the soil, or if I may, forgive my use of this word, who is regarded as a truer son of the soil? Who are people, more drawn to? And then for and against, what do you have going for you? What does Arebe Sholago have going for him? What are his strong points? What does Omishore have going for him? What are his strong points? So, I mean, those are our 4. Those are the 4 things we think will influence or will have influenced voters who have already cast their votes today. What do you guys think? What do you think are the determinants, of the votes that will be cast in Osun today?
First, I will address this 70-30.
Okay.
I think.
Do you have a prediction of your own?
well, in favor of PDP.
Well,
70-30 in favor of PDP.
Yes, and when that happens, I think we're going to take a run on the entire Southwest.
I need to
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so can we go back, so run from there, what do you think would have influenced voting today?
I think the first thing that we should see going forward is that we need to have a better educated electorate that we can no longer avoid or shy away from, so that we can reduce the influence of those 4 factors that you've highlighted. Because those 4 factors are not enough to indicate the dividends of democracy if you were to have people really actually leading, and serving the electorate who put them there. So I think that for me, in Osun, I think it's all of these factors have been lined up in varying degrees for both candidates. But I would think, I want to say I'm optimistic about my party. I want my party to win in Osun, so we can take a run on the entire Southwest. We're taking Lagos next, for your information.
We will. I mean, during 2015, we will probably have like 20 war rooms, all the elections as they come. So, we're happy to note your predictions, on stone somewhere for Lagos and every other thing. But for now, what do you think will influence voters today?
Well, I think, so it's easy to talk about voters who are not educated and all that, but sometimes people can be more sophisticated in their thinking than we give them credit for. So sometimes people are, so whatever reasons they may have, it may sound odd. So for example, one big complaint in Ekiti, which of course, the governor Fayemi debunked was, and his government, which they debunked was that many of the contracts in the state were going to people who were not Ekiti indigenes. So in other words, Ekiti money was ending up in the hands of Ogun State people and Lagos State people and all that. Now, that can sound odd. Somebody sitting in Lagos who thinks they're educated, that can sound like, is that why you would, then not vote for a governor? But for the person who is sitting in Ekiti, it's quite a sophisticated sort of argument to make that, look, this is a small state that doesn't have a lot of money. The little we have, should, you talk about local economic development. So, I'm not sure that people are looking to vote on the basis of the highest bidder.
No.
At least not in the south. At least not in the southwest. People are. There are arguments going on in people's heads.
Yes.
Whatever those arguments might be, and those arguments, of course, the basis for a lot of this is economic. But you cannot take away the fact that, look, poverty is a big issue.
Yes.
Economic arguments are a big issue. I mean, even in the US and elsewhere, economic arguments are a big issue. Taking money from, how tax works.
Yeah.
Who do you take money from to give? Are you taking money from the poor to give the rich?
Yeah.
So all over the world, economic arguments are important. So whatever it is, I think people are quite sophisticated. And you will notice that there was an attempt to make religion a big part of the APC elections. But as people have argued about also, okay, the fact that the APC, of course, has been called an Islamist, an extremist party. Governor Alumbeshola himself has kind of been tagged or labeled.
Yes, he said
Oh, sorry, I meant Oshun. What did I say?
Yeah.
Because I was working there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
because
meant
they're both Christian.
I meant Oshun.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I meant Oshun. That there's been an attempt to make religion a big part of the Oshun elections. But there was a piece by in this day about a week ago by YNaija2015 about who's from Osun State, about how it's an attempt to impose something that is from outside the Southwest. Knowing how the Southwest is almost evenly divided between Muslims and Christians.
Yes.
Let's pick governors. Them governors in the Southwest who are Muslims and their wives are Christians. That's common.
Yeah.
That's standard. Families are split. Yeah, even Lagos, yeah. So families are often split along those, Muslim and Christian lines. In Osun State, there was a time when both the governor and his deputy were Christian. I think that was under Oyinlola and his deputy. It was never an issue. So, so you can sit outside and then think that those things that matter elsewhere, they don't have to matter automatically, in Osun State.
Yeah.
And Osun people, seem to know this. This is not the issue. This is not a Muslim versus a Christian. Whatever else, however the media may want to impose a narrative on it, it's not about that. So that sophistication, we should acknowledge it and also allow it to come out.
And it's similar to what Tori just said. Religion has never been an issue in South.
Yeah.
Basically, people have been saying stuff in Lagos. Muslim,
well, there's an attempt now to make it an issue.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that would influence people's decisions today, national elections, perception.
Perception.
Now, the way that governor is a very funny guy. He's dressing the way that Benny issue where I heard he refused his SSS details. He uses all these things.
No.
That's what I heard. So he's like he's like a
The school uniform, there's that photo of him in shorts.
Amongst the children.
He has a retreat, this I don't believe he's doing so much. All the noise they are making about him being, but the guy has worshippers in his face. And then Omishore again is the wrong candidate for the PDP. There's something dark about him. He's a brilliant person, fine. He's worried, fine. But there's something. A different PDP candidate will have given APC a rough. Well, the way it is now, this is consensual. I don't want to write the word. I don't want to call it
Looking at both candidates, really, you would know that. For me, starting from where it stops, that Omishore is simply the wrong candidate for PDP. And I think you can trace it back to Omishore's advent. He tried to get into power with, I can't remember the party name. Then he came to 80 in 99, but he was out of the Abacha 5 fingers.
What killed him?
The leprosy.
Now,
He was deputy governor.
He was deputy governor. Now, Mutsulu Akifenwa said at that time that the biggest mistake of the Alliance for Democracy in Osun was to have made the person who was financing the party the deputy governor. Because once Omishore came into power, I mean, Omishore is someone who is more suited to be a godfather than on field. Omishore is not a born campaigner. You see born political campaigners, there's charisma that oozes, out of them in front of the crowd. They one-on-one, they might not even be charismatic. If you met Arabeshola is not the most charismatic person one-on-one. You know, it's quite energetic, but it's not the most charismatic one-on-one. But when he comes in front of a crowd of like 20 people, something lights up in him. It's as if he becomes somebody else. He just, you know, so you know, that's that about him. So Arabeshola might be the more likely person. And then, you know, in terms of performance, I'm not. I wouldn't even want to say that he hasn't worked, but there are things that people can point to. Arabeshola hit on the things that people want. He didn't do it. He didn't just do it cosmetically. For instance, I was in Ekiti after the election, and I was taken to the civic center. You know, and of course, you know, I asked myself, what would you need a civic center for in an Ekiti state where, you know, I mean, even the national stadium doesn't, the Olympic stadium doesn't it's not being used every weekend, and then you're building a brand new civic center. But Arabeshola didn't do that. What he was trying to focus on was trying to win the hearts of those old women by saying, okay, you're giving your children employment, 40,000 people have been employed in Osun Youth Empowerment in 4 years. And so, I don't know. Home meals. You know, so, and then the school uniforms.
Yeah.
The funny thing about the school uniforms is this, that I think we give PDP a lot less credit for the propaganda that they run than it should. Because this narrative now, for instance, of this religion, or that they are taking your money to Lagos, you know, there are like 5 different narratives that are actually PDP propaganda lines all across APC states. Really? You know, they say, okay, your godfather wants to go to PDP, they are taking your money to Lagos, you want to go to APC. You know, that Tinubu becomes godfather, and that is why someone like Tinubu had to play a muted role in these Osun elections. He couldn't come out so aggressively.
I suspect they kept him away.
Yes, I suspect they kept him because if that thing goes, you know, that's all they watch online here.
Probably because the person contesting the time, people call him Aroli Tinubu. He did not give Tinubu
don't you think if Tinubu appeared beside Arabeshola, he might have played into that PDP narrative. So you see.
Can I so we sent, of course, everyone knows we have reporters in Osun at the moment. We've got 3 of them, and we've got a live blog up. So you're welcome to, you know, keep up with what's going on in Osun on our live blog. You're welcome to tweet us at YNaija2015. You're welcome to join the discussion. Hashtag is YNaija_WarRoom. Now, I'm going to pick on something Demola said, just to, you know, pick back up on this discussion. You said something about school uniforms. We actually spoke to some parents. You know, we had reporters who spoke to parents, and I'm going to read a direct quote from one of them. That uniform thing alone, of course, this is translated from Yoruba. That uniform thing alone is a real relief to some parents like us who don't have a lot of money. Some children go to school with torn uniforms, probably because their parents couldn't afford new ones. But now, we don't have to worry about that. For each session, school children get a new set of uniforms. Then there are free books for the children. This government has been good to us and our children. I think it feeds into what, you know, what you've said, but more especially looking at Ekiti and what, you know, Mr. Kazim said. What can the people feel? You know, what are the things that touch them directly?
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. The point I was making when I said that was that the school uniform, that it resonates. I didn't know that. It resonates powerfully with the people on ground in Osun. But whereas, you know, those of us who are in Lagos, so the narrative is that, oh, it's the governor's wife who
is sewing
uniform and so on. So what should be a negative, or what we see as a negative, is actually very positive on ground. So he is strong in that on that note. And then, you know, somebody tweeted at a point the meals that were feeding those children. Yeah. You know, and the picture wasn't quite nice for someone like me.
But for a Lagos person,
but on ground, for somebody who probably doesn't have anything to eat. I mean, the parents will be so, the mother is so grateful. And so, you know, so these things are things that I think will have a lot of effect. So my own prediction, I won't go as far as 70. I don't think we've seen anything. I did last prediction. Okay.
Oh, you just said.
You know that so that narrative that works in Ekiti, talking about narratives, you know, and stuff. One of the ones that worked in, that appeared to work in that PDP last time in Ekiti was elitism. but you cannot accuse Aregbesola.
Yes.
You cannot even mention. You cannot. There's no.
You can say
Different strokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different strokes. Different strokes for different folks. So different things apply to each of in each of these states.
Yeah.
But I think on the ground, it's not quite what you say. For instance, about the uniform thing, would you imagine a Lagos state with every secondary school we're having the same school uniform? That monotony.
To be frank, I found it very odd.
It is
odd. I went from Ikwetu to Ilesha, from Ikwetu to Ilesha, from Ikwetu to Ife, then Osogbo. I don't know, it was the same uniform. It was like,
To the people,
I couldn't wrap my head around
to the people on the ground, that is very odd. That is something they cannot come to grips with. They can't come to terms with it. And they feel that it's just a means to siphon funds. That's their
people?
Yes, that's their final. No. They agree. They like it. They like the fact that they don't have to buy uniform, but they're poor. It's a form of help. But they feel that there's more to it than meets the eye. Ask anyone in your shoe. I extract information myself.
As a matter of degrees, would you say that the school uniform is more of a negative for Aregbesola than a positive?
I would say that.
Really?
Yes, I would say that. Like you said, there are calculations and the thinking gears are engaged
So
in every voter's
more
mind.
voters will come out, to vote for him because of the uniforms, but to vote
Against
against him
Yes.
than those that will come
Against
out for
him, I'll tell you a few things that they will vote against him for. There's this, what's this school? There was the
Baptist
school,
Okay, yeah.
uniform. I'm just telling you a couple of things that people
There was also
think
talk of
that
owing
he has-
civil servant.
Yes,
Yeah.
owing
Which
civil
I
servants.
found honestly.
Engaging OES people, 40,000 people that are not getting paid regularly. So if they feel that we've been fooled into believing that our children are getting employed, but we're still feeding
Now,
them.
as I said, people have stuff against it,
Yes.
but they don't like you. Who is the alternative?
Who's the alternative? Yes.
Oh no. That's the problem.
But isn't that, let's leave that to the voters.
Exactly. I think by the end of the day, by the end of the day, and we're going to be here, and we're going to talk through these
Yes.
results and start to comment.
Yeah.
I think the mistake PDP might be making is that PDP might be too optimistic in Osun State. Osun is not a kitty.
Yeah.
Aregbesola is not 5G. Omisore is not 5G. That's the narrative of the entire election. Osun is far bigger. Osun is about 4 times bigger than Ekiti. Osun has up to 4 different tribes. The Gominas are there, the Jeshas, and so on. The Ifes and the Oyos themselves are also there. Osun is not a civil service state, so you can slight civil servants and still get away a bit with it. Baba Akonde, BC Akonde, former governor, he didn't get away with it because he was very rational.
Yes,
and he
absolutely.
wasn't as populist as. But so I mean, if you look at the narrative of the elections, the civil servant, the places where the vote might be affected would be in a place like Osogbo, and then maybe Olonda or any other local governments around.
Yeah.
But in the hinterlands, the parents are just happy that somebody is giving their children school uniforms, which is why I said I'm surprised that that you think that the school uniform will be more of a negative. And then the roads, and then it's the government they can relate with. But that's not to say that Aregbesola is perfect.
One of the things I learned earlier on about Osun was that I think few states do propaganda as much as the Osun state government.
Yes.
In terms of they've actually got they've actually got I think a unit that is just devoted to early on they had adverts full page adverts in the paper. Was Osun not the first? Maybe not. Was Osun one of the first states to actually first do a new logo with a name? Change the name to state of Osun.
Yeah.
So Osun is it's clear that Osun takes branding and perception
Very serious.
Very serious.
Yes.
And which is why Osun is the state where you have all of those something, meals, yes,
and it also,
and we like to talk about how anything in Osun just add O to it.
Yes.
And you have you have a new, you know, and people kind of, you know, with the state of Osun, he said it should be called Ogbeni, you know, and not governor. So
I think he called the said, you know, a guy was taken, and I think he was taken to court, state of Osun versus. He just said, what is it of Osun? It's a state of Osun versus what is that? There's nothing called. Although that's more constitutional anyway.
I guess because in the constitution, it's not the state of Osun. You know, but you know, whether you like it or not, look, I think that one of the things that we know about the Osun state government is that they just learned to do this propaganda. So that even, for example, with the appointment, you know, much of what they said was that they were going to have 150,000, but until the end, you know, as far as I know, as at last time I knew, I think it was only 20,000 tablets that had gone out. But
and they were retrieved.
Yeah, but the word out there, but the word out there is that there's 150,000. You know, so
they were not working. It was inflated.
Yes. But your appointment won a global award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
But that's
the opposition hasn't really taken advantage.
But that's another thing that the people have interpreted on their own to mean this man is fooling us. That's their interpretation. I'm telling you, I have extracted.
No.
Let me tell you something. No, I'll tell you something. A year ago, I told people that Fayemi would not win the next election. I went round personally every local government and I decided to do participatory information extraction. And I randomly asked nothing less than 50 people, randomly in each local government, personally. I will take bites, I will get up, get down, buy groundnut, buy gari, buy sugar. No, engage in discussions with the person.
Right.
You understand? I mean, I wanted to know because I needed to make a decision on when to if 2015 was right for me. This was a year and a half ago, and my prediction then happened. You understand? So
so let me cut you short.
Yeah.
Your prediction then happened. What do you predict for today?
I think no, okay.
I mean, because I have to believe you. You know, yes. Your prediction came through. So your prediction from a year and a half ago.
Yes.
He's a party man.
Yeah.
He's a PDP man.
Yeah.
He cannot say anything against the party.
I believe that like you said, you mentioned something about the PDP making a mistake with the choice of Omishori. I would like us to clear that off the table.
Okay.
It's a pro-democratic process that yielded Omishori the internal democracy. Yeah. Well, no one is perfect yet. But no, really, no party is perfect.
I'm actually pro.
Yeah.
Party is perfect. I followed the entire process.
Yeah.
I thought the truth is Omishori had practically been anointed before Governor Yola left power.
Okay.
PDP circles, you know. Before that court judgment came and overturned.
I don't know about anointment.
Unfortunately, you see, the Omishori faction in PDP it wasn't the strongest. But Omishori was able to capitalize on the problem the schism between former President Obasanjo and President Goodluck Jonathan, and he won himself into the heart of the presidency in Abuja. So but the mistake he has made so far with PDP structure. I remember when former Governor Fayose was given the Ekiti micro for PDP. I was hoping that he would analyze his house, that nobody should decamp. And he did that. He ensured that nobody decamped from all the way contested from Ambassador BGD to Sylvia Bello to Senator Benga who was initially the 10 other contestants had initially said, oh, this
was consensus.
Consensus, you know. But he made sure he harmonized his house, and then he picked the second person who was not part of his own faction, Prince Adedayo. He picked him because he knew that the PAM was very strong in it. Picked him and he lobbied for him to be the minister. Whereas in Osun State, Omishori did not do that. Before the primaries itself, Alhaji Fatai Akinbade who has constantly delivered Olaoluwa local government
Yes.
for PDP, right from the time of ever since 2003. No, since 1999. Olaoluwa in 1999, 2003, Olaoluwa local government produced the Nigerian House of Assembly member. You know, and that was Alhaji Fatai Akinbade, and then he became the party chairman, became Secretary of State government under YNaija. So let such a man go. You know, if for me it wasn't good politics. And then after winning the party ticket, the only candidate that I know of working closely for him, which might affect Governor Adeshola in the Ijesha, as Honorable Oluwole, who spent 2 years, two sessions, but
yes,
that's
in
8
the
years
House of Reps.
in the House of Reps.
Yes.
So he's very, very strong on ground. He's in PDP, you know, and he's working with the missionary, you know, but that's the only candidate that's working with him.
Yes.
You know, when you do somewhere like the former governor, and then on social media people are saying Oyinlola is not strong. You cannot be governor of the state for 7 years and not have up to 10,000 voters.
Well, you know, if you kind of go back to Ekiti, you know, we saw that in Ekiti, you know, the governors before Governor Fayemi, you know, all the governors, I mean, except for Fayoshe, were on Governor Fayemi's side, you know, and which didn't particularly then. So
this guy, this former governor, Adebayo,
Adebayo.
he left his politics. He's a partner in one of them. Who else?
Oni, yeah.
Confused.
Engineer Oni.
APC. Oni had no structure per se.
So sometimes also, you know, it's not a given that
but really, Oyinlola is strong on ground, particularly the traditional rulers. Oyinlola resonates because during Prince Oyinlola's period, and he's a prince. Every king, he made sure the kings lived large. His father was the king before. He made sure all the other kings, all the other kings. You know, so combining with somebody like that, and then Senator Isiaka Adeleke, who contested the ticket. I mean, you know, the PDP tried to woo Oyinlola. I'm not, I'm pro PDP guy. But I see all the mistakes clearly.
He was national secretary of the PDP.
Yes.
Who? He was national secretary of the PDP. You know, and then they tried to woo him.
Quite influential.
But you know, when they couldn't woo him, and now there's another rumor on ground in Osogbo. One of my cousins there was telling me yesterday that they said he bewitched Oyinlola, that everything Oyinlola is doing presently, that he doesn't know what he's doing. That he's just, I mean, that's what they are selling. That's what they are selling. You know, yesterday I was asking on Twitter, they said Oyinlola's carried someone. That was another propaganda. You know, so they're just trying to bring Oyinlola because they are scared. They are scared of that Oyinlola fan.
You know what? Quick one. Let's say, if we look at what you've said now about the former deputy governor, I'll say let's take a step back and look at how our people typically vote. The kind of things that makes them, when the people swing, they swing totally.
Yes.
So let's forget the fact that a former governor or a former president, once you can swing some key people, you understand, on some fundamental basis. Oh, he's in APC or he's in PDP, and we have said we will not vote for him. So we still have that kind of party politics.
In the Southwest, party affiliations have diminished considerably. I think. I can't speak for other places. But in the Southwest, party affiliations have diminished, and that it's hard to blame people for allowing it to diminish in their minds.
So in the Southwest, except
well, possibly.
Okay. In the Southwest,
hopefully not.
People usually make people okay when somewhere like Oyo State, people were able to vote Accord, vote PDP for vote Accord for House of Assembly, vote APC or ACN for governor, and vote PDP
for the Senate.
APC everywhere. And Adeshola did only one state House of Assembly seat. But it was party. They did not care. So that's why I said except Osun. They did not care who, if it was a goat on the APC platform. So Adeshola held that. Now that could change. It could change. But from the last election, from that last election, even if the Southwest doesn't hold that template, I think Osun is still.
But that election, strangely, was fine and free and fair for APC. Yeah, where the entire elective positions were taken by one party. That election was fine.
Can we talk a bit about propaganda?
Free and fair.
Can we talk about propaganda again? I mean, in Kano, sometime I think it was earlier in the year, they had local council elections, and all 44 were taken by APC. You know,
equally free and fair.
Exactly. I think that so I think it's become common practice. If your party wins, it's free and fair. If your party doesn't win, let us go to tribunal. We must do this.
Absolutely.
But the reality of the case is that, as Buhari said, in 1984, after they overthrew the Shagari government, and he was setting up, I think, a commission to look at elections and all that. He said, look, all parties are guilty, and parties tend to manipulate elections where they have a following. So that I'm not going to sit here and say that there's one party that has a monopoly on this.
Absolutely.
And in fact, how can you say that when these people are moving from party to party? So
who is
Omishore, who is the PDP person now, was AG deputy governor. Don't forget that. Oshoba and APC chieftain in Ogun State seems to be on his way out. In fact, what we hear now is that he's about to set up his own party. Banikorum was AD core in Lagos, now he's PDP. And you can say that. Look, in Bayelsa State, Governor Dixon, who is PDP governor in Bayelsa, was once AD National Legal Advisor. He was National Legal Advisor of the AD. So look, once anybody who just gives it a little thought, will just know that the party affiliations
mean nothing.
Oyinlola, who was, PDP, is now APC. Segun Oni, who was PDP governor, is now APC Expo. He's national vice chairman. Only a few years ago, he was PDP governor. So when you think about so does somebody then become somebody? If you accuse somebody of manipulating elections in PDP, when they move to APC, do they become a saint?
Yes.
So it's and that's why I was making the point about how I think people are starting to get to the point where they just know that, look, forget this whole party thing. People are looking more at candidates.
Absolutely.
1999, that's what you said about people voting goats and stuff. 1999, AD was going to take. There was no way, and there was Awolowo and all that. But things that have started to change, and people are just a bit less caught up about political party platforms and all that. And I think that that's the future.
It's the future, actually. I think that's the future.
I'm still a little. I just want you to expand on that. Because for me, I'm just thinking that if you run on the PDP platform, well, there are some benefits.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Okay.
If
So I see your
on the APC platform,
there are some benefits.
In some areas, there are some benefits as well.
So I'm talking about.
So I'm thinking now. So can we really say that the party platform?
Okay. Maybe I should qualify that a bit.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Southwest. Leave out. You can't go to Bayelsa for now and contest on the APC or whatever. Honestly, or go to Enugu and contest. So let's focus on the Southwest, where the Southwest is one part that has constantly been switching. Apart from Lagos State, all other states in the Southwest have tested. Lagos by switch. Have tested.
Switching because the individuals have been switching.
You remember that Governor Ayofayo ran on the platform of Labour Party.
Yes, and he lost.
And he supported APC, ACN.
He supported ACN to put out PDP. Then he went to the Labour Party, he lost, and eventually contested 4. Now, I don't know, but I would insist, or before and I get educated now, I would have insisted that if Ayofayo had run on the platform of the Labour Party this time around, he would have lost, and probably have run on the platform of PDP. Well, I don't know if he would have won, or the incumbent might still be taken. But But I don't think Governor Ivanchi would have won if he ran.
I think that question is a tricky one, because I feel that even if he ran on Labour, he might have won, but the margin would have been a lot more reduced. Because that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
It doesn't.
Imagine
I think what happened in that election is different from. It was about people wanting him in, and in fact, even if he wasn't the candidate, I think people would have still voted for someone else other than the sitting.
But you have
it was more of you need to go. You understand? It was more of you need to go to fire me than who is competing against.
Which is why you have a valid point in that. So I have to qualify myself and say I don't mean parties don't count at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, so obviously, if you are, your point is valid. If you are on the platform of the PDP, there are automatic benefits. Abuja support. I mean, even for me, the more important benefit is the fact that PDP is solid on ground. Okay, yeah, so it has structures, yeah, it does.
If you have a big candidate anywhere in Nigeria,
yeah,
you are guaranteed at least 20% of the votes in any election.
Because PDP is national.
There are voting agents that will vote for you.
I think that takes me to your point of having been in PDP all along. And I always say, my answer is that PDP is the only party that the son of a nobody can step out and say you want to be a senator or you want to be a governor. And nobody will say, get out of this room.
But let's not forget also. Let's
no, but really,
I know.
Yes.
So let's go back. The beginnings of let's just do a bit of.
No, PDP has cured itself.
The beginnings of PDP.
Yes.
You know, once upon a time,
Yes.
PDP was the only political party in 1990. PDP came out of what was called
in 98.
G34, G38 or 34, G34 and PDM.
Yes.
Yeah. So at a point, the PDP was the only platform. The AAD came out of the PDP.
Yes.
The APP at that time, All People's Party,
Yes.
which they locally called Abacha People's Party, came out of the PDP.
Yes.
You know, so at one time it was Senator Tinubu, Ekweme, all of them. You know, this was the G34, and you know, with Atiku PDM. This was.
I do that.
Well, but he was one of.
Abroad.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying by '98.
He claimed she was doing Adequate.
Yeah, no, but by '98, when they were setting up, when the Kwame and Co were setting up, when the Kwame and Co were setting up G34, they were all together.
Yeah.
So they came out. In fact, I've heard somebody argue that Bola Ige played a key part in writing the constitutions of all of those early parties, PDP, AD. You know, so let's not forget that the PDP was once actually an umbrella for everybody.
Yes.
You know, and all the other parties that exist now kind of came out. And when the AD came out, it was the Western elements that kind of came out. APP at that time was largely Northern elements who moved out. But the national thing at that point was PDP. And 15 or 16 years later, we're still seeing that same pattern. The national party is still PDP, and the APC, is now, the APC that we see today is now largely a blend of the old AD and APP, with some elements of, PDP who have moved out. So, that clearly explains why there's still only one.
That party will be rescued. Can only be rescued by the elements of PDP that move out. Because for me, I think the constituent parts of APC are both wrong. And it's playing out at the national conference. The
northern
Southwest.
You
have to call
Southwest,
presented by the AC, and the CPC, which is the common.
These
are conservative,
which
progressive.
It
is not working. They cannot have that common mindset. This one's for hegemony. This one's
for PDP,
and this one. So I think in that party, I think they will do well to just let the PDP politicians come and play their politics.
And the PDP is that PDP has been smart enough to abandon any pretensions to ideology. PDP doesn't talk about ideology. AC used to be AC used to call themselves progressive.
Exactly.
Yeah, but PDP.
I think somebody was writing that this week.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote that.
I think
Somebody wrote that this week that before APC could rely on the fact that
they were
are all
progressive.
party, but now like you because of our all party, Buhari, your party, and now we all so there's something for them to fall back on. Before all the final thing to do was to say, oh, our party.
Can we take a break from history, from the history class? There's something I really wanted to talk about, and I'm trying to debate within myself. Do we start talking about it now? Do we take a break, or do we take a break and then we'll come back and talk about it? But I'm just going to put the word out, and let's see how it goes. Militarization.
Well,
we can talk about
it.
Talk about it.
My question is, we're making it sound as if it's new, the new thing, but is it? Is it actually? We're making it sound like it started with Ekiti. I remember tweets about Edo, Delta elections, and in fact, I'm thinking we should even go back. Are we saying that before now, there was no strong impact of like militarization?
I mean, I can talk about Edo because I personally monitored Edo elections. I was in the state, and was there military presence? Yes. I remember part of the report I did was I said something like it looked like it was a war type, war zone type, setting.
Yeah.
But what didn't exist then, or what wasn't reported then, is this arrest. That's what I don't seem to understand. Just pick a bunch of people up, and then after the elections, or around this time, you free them. What's the point? Why pick them up? That didn't happen in Edo. I was in Edo the day before the elections. So we left the day or 2 days after. That didn't happen. There was a lot of military men around. I mean, it was.
Where did it happen?
Where did what happen?
The
arrest? Lai Mohammed was arrested.
Okay,
I'm talking about Oshun. So I'm talking about elections.
Who was arrested?
Well, they talked about detention.
They were reporting about detentions.
I would say that when it comes to all these arrests, I think that if you were arrested in Nigeria of today, the caliber of these people who claim that they were arrested, or else you would go to court. People will be dealt with. Heads will roll.
I think some of it.
You understand? Because all our powerful people, all our power brokers, sit together and drink tea and talk and have parties together. So if you you see, that's the thing. It's a family out there. So if I was a military man and I was sent to go and detain somebody wrongly, I believe that I won't last 6 months after that incident. You understand? So I think that all of this is part of propaganda.
One pattern that would have been good to look at, is that, so now at the moment, we have the Minister of State for Defense from the Southwest. The Minister of Police Affairs is from the Southwest.
Yes.
Which means that, just logically, simply, because they are Southwesterners, and they are in charge of sort of, some way, the police and the army, they would have a certain interest. So it would be good to go back to other elections, for example, and find out, is there any who was Minister of Defense? Because so the Minister of Defense is more likely to be able to mobilize, or whatever. Who was Minister of Police Affairs? Who was?
From a whole different angle.
Yeah.
Looking at Twitter exchanges online, tempered was very yesterday night. People who
On-
have
yeah.
business
In Osun.
Yes.
People should be all the way from our
Yes.
They are not
Just to be in Osun.
People have a lot of interest. So much exchange yesterday night. And
we were just.
Was that having
But
to do
it's
with-
just eating of the politics.
I asked them yesterday, online Twitter exchange. If it is something we're using words like I will kill you. So
Yes.
if this will happen on Twitter, if these guys meet one on one, so now the presence of soldiers alone will make someone think twice.
Of course.
But then look at Edo State,
Anambra.
Edo State, Anambra. These soldiers, are they beating anybody up?
At all.
Now, are they rigged elections?
No.
Only those who have something to hide or who have something to do with
Absolutely.
of soldiers. Now, my standpoint is this: if those soldiers are not dead today, or they were not, this particular election
Would have become bloody.
Yes, it will. They just found the ballot box somewhere. They found the ballot box. Soldiers went there. The guys ran away. Ordinarily, it would have been penetrated.
Yes. So can I also look at it from another angle?
Yes.
Are we saying that we need soldiers, we need a strong military presence in these states to guarantee free and fair elections? And how will that play out in 2015?
Exactly.
All over the country.
That's my thought.
You know,
Because
it's easy for us to man.
because
Because
one
you know,
election.
I said also at the point that it will be easy to man Ekiti, but those same numbers in Osun, you know, it's like we didn't hear of any ballot box snatching. In Osun, you would hear because
And
Osun
we've gotten.
But there will be flashpoint.
Yeah, there will be flashbacks.
You won't live so like Bayelsa.
Yeah, you don't spread everywhere.
But you won't live on your
And
state.
that's the problem.
You
For
won't
me,
live there.
you see now, when you say somewhere like Bayelsa, you leave. That is why eventually we come out with scandalous results like the one we had last time, where Bayelsa voted 99.99% for Jonathan.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Which is possible.
really?
which is to assume that the other party doesn't have.
They don't have family members.
Exactly.
No children
You
of
know,
40 age.
so those situations, but you also provide not to lose that parties only read where they are.
Where they are popular. Yeah. It's complicated in the Delta because of the
lay of the land.
infrastructure. Yeah. So with the swamps and creeks,
Yeah.
in fact, one of the observers in 2011 found that turnout in Rivers State, in Port Harcourt was about 50%. Outside of Port Harcourt in the swamp, it suddenly shot up to 70-something%. The 50-something. So it just means that the Niger Delta stands out because of the inaccessibility of many of the places.
That pattern, because if you are writing, if you are doing if you are doing any statistical work, there's this tool that they use to measure the differential. And you see it, okay, and it always has a particular pattern. Like, okay, what's the level of apathy to this election? If all over the country, it is 37 are staying back, and then you get somewhere, and you find that almost only 10% stayed home. You just wonder.
And get it over there.
Yes.
You have to have no age.
Yes.
You can't have no age.
Yes.
So how will you have like 9%?
So but back to the militarization thing. So
But I can assure you,
I'm happy.
more popular candidate, the right party.
Even the turnout. No. Even the turnout numbers alone. Even the turnout. 90-something%.
Yeah.
Popular candidate, the right party.
I'm like, oh no.
Maybe all the other parties should learn from the PDP. Consistency is key. Same logo from day one, same colors, same constitution. I mean,
I'm so.
And it goes back to the same
consistency. The people are beginning to tend more towards these are the people we know.
For me,
you don't change your colors every day and expect.
I'm also certain that militarization
has negative.
It doesn't have any negative, as far as I'm concerned.
It might have some. Yes, militarization. Can we call it militarization?
It's not militarization.
Militarization is yes. The heavy deployment
of security officers, yes.
But for me, I think it does not stop a party from winning.
No, it doesn't.
There was a famous case in Ekiti.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they went for the funeral of, I think, my Bamidele's mother in 2009 or something, and Governor Tinubu, so this one in 2007.
Yes.
They went for somebody's funeral.
2005.
2005.
They went for the funeral of Nia
yeah, maybe mother in somebody,
Yeah.
and there was.
Was Okemba Midele, they went for the funeral of someone related to
Bamidele.
And 3 governors of Shoba
Were detained.
And
They were detained, and there was this big, the ruler Bali was a PDP. Fayoshe was governor at that time,
Yes.
and there was, that detention thing. So it's not like it's today that the APC or what now the APC has made those allegations. But I also don't know if a party in power would always want to deploy whatever it has.
But that's not. Yes.
Guys, we
Okay.
need to take a break.
Okay.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we do. We need to take a break. We need to feed our bellies as well as,
Stomach infrastructure.
But just before we go on the break, I am so sorry to cut you short. Just before we go on the break, some news for the people predicting. Omishore just won his ward.
Okay.
So results are starting to trickle in. Omishore just won his ward. And when we come back, we're going to talk through some of the numbers that are coming from Endeka. We're going to see how people are tweeting, what they feel about the elections, positive or negative. We're going to look at, their sentiments. This makes us feel very powerful, and we can actually, check how people feel. It's like we should talk to Oracle and find a way to be able to manipulate them. Tell them,
Think this way.
Exactly. But I mean, up to this point, I think you guys have been brilliant. So it's just stepped out. I think the stomach infrastructure thing.
He needs it more urgently.
Yeah, but I'm going to step out and have a drink, have a bit of something to eat, and then when we come back, we'll talk through the numbers from Endeka. We'll talk through militarization and all those kinds of things. But so far, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So let's all head out.
No, I don't think you'd actually need to.